Shalom Mashpaka. May peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Kalala bayaba shuma mashak yawashaba rakatanta waraba halawaya halawaya halawaya. Ecclesiastes chapter 5 verse 19. Every man also to whom Yah hath given riches and wealth, and hath given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of Yah. So, welcome in, everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about this Wendy Williams situation. And I'm going to be reading from a news source article that's going to be giving us some light about what's going on with her. I'm going to share commentary on it as we read this article. And then we're going to look from a deeper perspective and see what the Most High says and what the Most High wants us to know by the way of Wendy Williams' example. So my news article is coming from NBC News. Yes, this is NBCnews.com. And the title is Wendy Williams diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia. We'll begin with the article. The former talk show host was diagnosed last year after undergoing several medical tests. Actor Bruce Willis was diagnosed with identical ailments in 2022. Now, for some of you all who are tuning in that may not know who this woman is, Wendy Williams is a famous talk show host. And she's more widely known for gossip. She's also known to be a gossip queen. And the article will reveal a little bit more about her history and her standing as a celebrity. But for those who are aware of her, we know the kind of attitude she had while she was in the limelight. We know some of the things she said while she was in the limelight, some of the things she did while she was in the limelight. We know all of this. But we're going to get a deeper perspective by the way of the Most High with Rawach Qadash revealing spiritual knowledge for our own benefit. And shalom to everybody coming in. Shalom Keith Rogers and everybody else who's coming into the chat. Welcome. So I'm going to begin with the article here. And it reads, former talk show host Wendy Williams has been diagnosed with primary progressive aphasia and frontotemporal dementia, her team said in a statement Thursday, which is today. She was diagnosed last year after undergoing several medical tests. Her team said the conditions have presented significant hurdles in Wendy's life. Wendy would not have received confirmation of these diagnoses were it not for the diligence of her current care team, who she chose, and the extraordinary work of the specialists at Weill Cornell Medicine. Receiving a diagnosis has enabled Wendy to receive the medical care she requires, Williams' team said in a news release. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. Now, I don't know the exact chronological number of when this happened, but I know it was somewhere in the early 2010s, maybe mid, right? Probably around 2012, 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, right? Wendy Williams collapsed during one of her shows. She collapsed. And some people in truth talked about that. But one thing I want to highlight is that moment she collapsed, her health began to spiral downward. If you see that video of her collapsing, it looked like she's seen something in the spiritual realm. You can just look it up. You can look up the time she was doing her show, and all of a sudden, her speech became noticeably changed, and she just started looking like she was in shock or fear, and it looked like she was looking at something approaching her from the audience before she collapsed. And I share this with you all to really let you all know that this is indeed a spiritual matter. And shalom to everybody in the chat. This is indeed a spiritual matter. She, after she collapsed, her presence on TV began to dwindle. And I think not too long after that, she probably canceled her show. But I didn't keep up with her like that. So I'm only telling you general knowledge of what I remember. However, if you know the venom she spewed while she had her time in the limelight, the gossip and the tale-bearing she did, it's going to start making sense once we really get to the scripts regarding this matter. However, I'm going to continue on reading this article from NBC News. And the link will be posted in the comment sections once we're done with this live stream. Continuing on. Primary progressive aphasia is a nervous system syndrome that affects a person's ability to communicate, according to the Mayo Clinic. Now, we're going to pause right there. We've learned that aphasia affects the ability of one to communicate. Whoever's suffering from aphasia, their communication skills are affected or hindered. Now, I want you all to continue to walk with me on this because we're going to connect this with the scriptures shortly as to why all of this is happening with Wendy Williams. And by the way of the Holy Spirit, this should indeed encourage you to get right with Yah if you're struggling in certain areas in your walk, or if Yah's currently working with you to get out the world and to get out your folly, that whatever it may be. By the end of this video, by the way of the Holy Spirit, you should be encouraged and motivated to really, truly walk with Yah. Continuing on with the article. People who have it often have trouble expressing their thoughts and can lose their ability to speak and write. Symptoms typically begin before the age of 65. Frontotemporal dementia, or FTD, refers to a group of diseases that primarily affect the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain. The Mayo Clinic said, it is usually associated with behavioral and personality changes and difficulty with language. Actor Bruce Willis was diagnosed with aphasia in 2022, which progressed to frontotemporal dementia. So I heard about this happening to Bruce Willis as well. You know, a lot of us can remember Bruce Willis from the movie Die Hard. That's where I most remember him, in the movie Die Hard, the Die Hard movie series. And he's nothing like what he was in his prime. He's a shell of that man. And he was going through what Wendy's just now going through back in 2022. And I believe that it's progressed since then to the point where, you know, he can't even talk anymore. But I digress on that. Williams, 59 years of age, has previously opened up about her battles with lymphedema and Graves' disease. In 2017, she fainted in the middle of a Halloween episode of the Wendy Williams show. Pause right there. So it was 2017 when she fainted in the middle of the stage. And as ironic as it is, it was during a Halloween episode. I didn't even know it was a Halloween showing that she did that for. But we relate that to the observation of that moment that she fainted was a spiritual episode. You can see it in her eyes. The way she looked before she fell down, she was looking at something approach her on the stage. She even backed up a little bit. So if you search it in the archives of Salakia, I'm getting some distractions come in. Salakia, we rebuke whatever distractions of opposition that is trying to happen with this message. We rebuke that right now. Let me go ahead and put this phone away over here. Excuse me, Mashpaka. All right. So, yeah, if you remember that and you look into the archives of the internet to see that moment, she literally watched something approach her from the audience. She backed up, she continued to look at it, and then she just collapsed. And this happened during a Halloween episode. So during the height of wickedness, she got affected. That was the beginning of it, with her being in the height of wickedness, paying homage to such wickedness and y'all knows what else. But I say that to point out what they just stated here. It happened in 2017 during a Halloween episode of her show. Continuing on the reading, it says, but recovered and finished the episode. So she actually finished that episode. I didn't know that neither. A year later, she announced that she was taking a 3-week break from her Graves' disease diagnosis. Following her Graves' disease diagnosis. In 2022, amid ongoing health battles, it was announced that the show was ending. Her team said the decision to share her latest health issues was difficult and made after careful consideration. They said she is still able to do many things for herself and is receiving treatment. She maintains her trademark sense of humor and is receiving the care she requires to make sure she is protected and that her needs are addressed. The release stated, she is appreciative of the many kind thoughts and good wishes being sent her way. The news comes days ahead of Lifetime premiere of Where is Wendy Williams, a two-part documentary about her physical and mental health. It airs February 24th and February 25th on Lifetime. Then they put a correction here. It says correction, February 22nd, 2024, 4:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. A previous version of this article misstated in a sub-headline when Bruce Willis was diagnosed with aphasia. It was 2022, not 2023. Okay, that's the end of the article there. We're going to get into these precepts and really dissect this whole happening to Wendy Williams. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and start it off. Here in the book of Leviticus. Leviticus chapter 19, verses 16. Thou shalt not go up and down as a talebearer among thy people, neither shalt thou stand against the blood of thy neighbor. I am Yahweh. So when we run to the book, when we run to the law, in the Torah, the Torah, it says that we should not be as talebearers among our people, standing against the blood of our neighbor. This is a law of the Most High that's broken every day in droves, Mashpaka. Gossip is spoken heavily and it overflows like the waters of the ocean. Literally, you cannot go anywhere without hearing some gossip talk. He said, she said. The Most High put a law against this, Mashpaka. And specifically for the Akwath. Akwath, y'all have a very hard time with gossip. Y'all's very nature feeds into it. That is a fleshly Mashpaka. I mean, with the Akwath, you can't. A lot of sisters can't even get together with their sister without gossiping about something and feeding off of that back and forth, or within their groups. Yahweh said you shouldn't go as a talebearer among your people. And even more so, you have brothers who do the same thing. You have Akim that are out here talking as gossip folk. Khan, Shazak, you already know. You have you have brothers out here doing the same thing. Just like the women struggle with this sin of gossip, there's brothers out here doing the same thing. Now, I'm going to say it like this. If you're a man and you struggle with gossip, you really need to seek the Father. Because we're supposed to have a little bit more discipline than that as men. Women do it by nature. It's a wicked nature of them, where they just feed off of it. And Aqua, that's not an excuse for you to continue to do so if this is something you get tied into. Josephine Israel says, very true. One reason why I have separated myself and self-examination every day. Have to even back up from some I follow. Car. You know, whether you're a woman or whether you're a man, the Most High said you should not be going around gossiping. He said, she said, and it gets so messy that one story or that one message that was told to another gets watered down and mixed up as it spreads. Mashbaka. Somebody can be completely telling the truth from the first time it's stated, and then when it's filtered by somebody else, the story slightly changes, and it changes, and it changes, and it changes, and it changes to where the story is no longer circulating from its original form from the very first person who disclosed the information. This is wickedness, Mashbaka. This is wickedness. And when something's being relayed like that from ear to ear, from mouth to mouth, just straight up gossip, it gets very messy and wicked as such. Where whatever was shared as truth turns to a whole lie that circulates. It circulates. The Most High said, we are not to be talebearers among our people. Continuing on. Proverbs chapter 11, verse 13. A talebearer revealeth secrets, but he that is of a faithful spirit concealeth the matter. Miss Wendy Williams made a whole career and fortune off of talebearing. Mashbaka. All of her fame, her wealth, and her notoriety comes from being a gossip spreader. She started her whole career off of gossip. Now, as we continue to go into these precepts, we're going to see why her health is the way it is right now, and why many others are facing such detrimental health situations. Proverbs chapter 26, verse 22. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly. So the Most High likens the word of a talebearer as wounds. They inflict hurt. They cause problems. They stir up everything from peace. Everything that's far from the peace and order of the Most High, it does the opposite. It causes confusion and chaos and wickedness to run amok. That's why the Most High said the words of a talebearer are as wounds that go to the innermost parts of the belly. Now we're going to see what Yahweh Shah says about that. Matthew chapter 12, verse 34 through 37. O generation of vipers, how can ye being evil speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart, for out of the abundance of the heart, for out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So Mashiach was talking to the Pharisees when he spoke this wisdom here. The same applies to, Salah, to individuals like Wendy Williams and those that also thrive off of gossip talk in such magnitude as Wendy Williams did. Now, this is especially a woe to all these podcasters that are doing the same thing now. You have many podcasters that are thriving off of such gossip talk, earning their living off of being a talebearer. Men and women alike are breaking this very statute from Leviticus 19, verse 16. They're going to want to stop because Wendy Williams is a prime example as to why we shouldn't go about talebearing Mashpachah. The Most High is making her an example as to what will happen if you disregard his statutes and his order. We're going to get into it too. Don't worry, I got you. I got the precepts for it. But the Most High is using Wendy Williams as a plea to the rest of the world. He is pleading to everybody else who's taking heed to change their ways from such folly of gossip. Let's get further into it. Matthew 12:35. A good man out of the good treasure of the heart bringeth forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure bringeth forth evil things. So a good man out of the treasure of his heart will bring forth good things, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart will bring forth evil things. Verse 36, but I say unto you that every idle word that men shall speak, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment. So Mashpachah, what Mashiach said here is very, very serious. It's very crucial because we're held responsible in the heavenly realm for everything that we say. Yes, every idle word that we speak has been recorded. Everything we've spoken on, everything we've advocated, everything that we supported by our mouth has been recorded. It goes further on to say here in Matthew 12:37, for by thy words thou shalt be justified, and by thy words thou shalt be condemned. We know Miss Wendy Williams has said a lot in the rise of her career of being a talk show host. We know she has said a lot throughout the years. And now she's losing her mind. She can't even talk anymore. The Most High has affected her speech to where it's difficult for her to speak, and her communication skills are dwindling. After reading these few precepts, we see that wasn't by accident. Continuing on, Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 6 through 7. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. Let me read that again for the people in the back. Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 6. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no hurt. That is the words of Yahweh, Ha'alahayim, the Most High. He says, stay away from idolatry. Don't provoke me to wrath. Don't make me mad, and I won't hurt you. That was from the Most High himself, Mashbakah. He said, do not practice idolatry, and don't make me angry by provoking me, by doing the opposite of what I commanded you, and I won't hurt you. Continuing on. Verse 7, Jeremiah 25, verse 7. Yet ye have not hearkened unto me, saith Yahweh, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands, to your own hurt. So let's get this straight, Mashbakah. The Most High just checked us all in those two scriptures. He checked us all in that. He said, if you worship other gods and you be completely disobedient to me, I'm going to put my hands on you. And not in a healing way neither. I'm going to whoop your ass. That's what he just said here. Then he backs that up to further say, you don't listen to me. You provoke me to anger with your own works by the choices and your actions. Your choices, your actions, you make me angry, but it's to your own hurt. I hurt you because you did what I told you not to do. I put my hands on you because you out here being a damn fool. You are out here in idolatry. You are out here doing this, that, and the third, everything against me. So therefore, it's to your own hurt. This is the Most High checking us all. If anything has ever happened to us where we were physically harmed, the Most High did that to us for our own folly. If we can recall any time we had bodily injury or anything of that nature, it's because we did it to ourselves, Mashbakah. We did it to ourselves by being disobedient and serving other gods. Continuing on. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 58. If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mightest fear, Salakia, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh Elohim. Verse 59, Deuteronomy 28 and 59. Then Yahweh will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sicknesses, and of long continuances. Salat, continuance. Verse 60. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, them will Yahweh bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. So we read all of that just here in Deuteronomy 28 to refer back to an understanding of what's going on with Wendy Williams. Her own wickedness has put her in this state of health, Mashpaka. Her own wickedness. We've read it right here in Deuteronomy 28, verses 58 through 60. 61. Deuteronomy 28, verses 58 through 61 explain what's going on with Miss Wendy Williams. So if we want to have good health, if we want to be taken care of, if we want healing, we must be obedient. We can't be out here doing this, that, and the third, doing whatever we want to do and act like we're not going to have any consequences for it. Because these consequences are happening every day, Mashpaka, every day. They're happening. And what they just told about Wendy Williams today is the Most High plastering her situation as an example, as a plea to the rest of the world, saying, hey, get right with me. I don't enjoy doing this. I don't enjoy having to whoop your ass. I don't enjoy having to put you through these circumstances, but you know, you disobey me and you act like I don't exist and you do whatever you want to do. That's the consequence. Remember, the Most High is a man of war. Yahweh is a man of war. You have to be sick in the head to play around with a man of war. Continuing on. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 27 through 30. Wherefore, whosoever shall eat this bread and drink this cup of the Lord unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. So let's break this down from a Hebraic standpoint. So Aksha'al was talking about the good news of Mashiach. Now, we can also refer that to the Last Supper when Mashiach was with the 12 disciples. However, all of that is a spiritual metaphor, Mashpaka. To eat the bread means to consume the wisdom of our Messiah. To drink the blood is metaphoric for allowing Hamashiach's sacrifice to bring us closer to salvation. His death is a sacrifice for our sins, for us to be made anew, for us to have new life away from our old life of folly. Okay? So drinking from the cup and eating the bread all relates back to Mashiach, who was the living word of Yahweh. It doesn't have anything to do with communion on Sunday. So let's get, and I'm going to prove that here with our holy manuscript. Let's continue reading. Verse 28. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For he that eateth and drinketh unworthily, eateth and drinketh damnation to himself, not discerning the Lord's body. So when we eat and drink unworthily, not discerning the Lord's body, it means that we take the sacrifice of Mashiach for granted. We out here living lawless and not honoring the great sacrifice of Messiah for us to turn away from our folly of sin and to live a life that is born again, meaning we're no longer doing the things of this world, but we're living after the Father and his law, which is his will. Continuing on. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 30. For this cause many are weak and sickly. For this cause many are weak and sickly among you, and many sleep. So this ties back to Wendy Williams, Mashbaka. Wendy Williams is in her state of health right now because she did what 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 29 stated. She has eaten and drinking unworthily, eating and drinking damnation to herself, and not discerning the Lord's body. Not taking heed or any consideration of the sacrifice and the grace that she has that Mashiach made available. So therefore, she's in the state that she's in now. Now, I'm going to give you the context of eating and drinking. Eating the bread and drinking from the cup, right? That was stated here in 1 Corinthians 11:27. See, you always got to look at the Bible from a Hebraic perspective. And we're going to go to the book of Ezekiel to get further context behind eating and drinking. Because with the carnal mind, you may just think of food. But no, we're thinking from a Hebraic mind. We're thinking from the spiritual mind. We're thinking from by the way of Rawach Qadash. Ezekiel chapter 3, starting at verse 1. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. Verse 2, so I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. So this roll that the Most High was telling Ezekiel to eat was the word, his word. It wasn't a bread. It wasn't physically bread. It was the knowledge of the Most High. It was Ezekiel receiving that nourishment of the word, because remember, we don't live by bread alone, but every word of the Most High. It was him receiving that instruction from the Most High. That's what you equate to consumption from the Hebraic standpoint when it comes to this holy knowledge. Eating is consuming the information from Yah. It's consuming knowledge. It's gaining understanding. It's taking in information. Now let's further back this up of eating and drinking unworthily and eating and drinking damnation to oneself. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. So what is this saying here? Well, what is Akshal saying here? He's saying that once we receive that information, once we've consumed the information of Yah, eating and drinking unworthily, meaning having knowledge of the truth, but still acting contrary to that knowledge, then Mashiach's sacrifice, Salakia, Mashiach's sacrifice no longer covers your sin for that moment. You become the sacrifice. And that's when you face that hurt and that affliction that the Most High told us about, right? In Jeremiah chapter 25, verse 6 through 7. And we'll read that again for context. And go not after other gods to serve them and to worship them, and provoke me not to anger with the works of your hands, and I will do you no harm. Unto me, saith Yahweh, that ye might provoke me to anger with the works of your hands to your own hurt. Now, rereading Hebrews 10 and 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifice for sins. So therefore, we get touched, we get roughed up and scuffed up for being disobedient and foolish, after continuing to be disobedient after having knowledge of the word. There remaineth no more sacrifices of sin. So that blood no longer covers you for that particular sin. You have to face some type of destruction. So therefore, we get afflicted in various ways. And this is exactly what's happening to Miss Wendy Williams. This is why she's in the state that she's in at 59 years old. This is why her health has declined over the years to where she is now, to where she can no longer speak as she once did when she was in her prime and in the limelight, earning her fortune and fame through tale-bearing. Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 39. See now that I, even I, am he, and there is no God with me. I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Words of the Most High himself. He says, I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. Thus saith the Most High. So, when we truly fear Yah, we take all of this in high regard. And this is why this information is shared, for you have to have a genuine reverence and fear for the Most High. So that way you have your salvation, Mashmakah. That way you have your salvation. And that way we remain in good favor with the Most High. And that way the blood of Mashiach still works to our benefit. His sacrifice still works to our benefit. All we have to do is be obedient. All we have to do is refrain from idolatry and follow the commandments of Yah and the faith of Mashiach. With all that being said, may peace, serenity, and prosperity be multiplied unto you all. Shalom.